Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome to the preview show where we have a look at everything coming up in boxing this week. And there's a hell of a lot coming up. We've got Fabio, Wardley, Justis, Huni, Callum, Simpson, Junto, Nakatani, Opetaia, Keyshawn, Davis, just as a pick of the names. So subscribe or follow us on Spotify if you're listening on the audio episode, or vice versa, for all the good stuff to podcasts every week. Lots of great interview content coming up soon, all that good stuff, and straight into the action with what I think is probably the best fight of the weekend. The pick of the fight, certainly from our point of view, Fabio Wardley, top 10 heavyweight in the world, as we now know from our last episode.
Is this
official
two
ranking.
of our top 10? Or
No.
Huni didn't get in?
Huni didn't know.
No,
He will after
Huni
this
was on
weekend.
the edge. Huni nearly got in.
It's obviously a replacement opponent in the form of Justis Huni.
Yeah. Good replacement.
I think a harder fight for Wardley than Miller would have been.
Miller would have been, I think we said at the time, the perfect test for him at the time in terms of he's not going to blast Miller out there like he has a number of his opponents, so he's going to have to work, he's going to have to be switched on for 12 rounds. And after that fight, he would be a better fighter than he was going into it. And I think that was what their thought process was. This is a rankings fight. Whoever wins this is going to put themselves in a really healthy position for a really tasty payday. We obviously will save our predictions to the end as always, but what's it look like as a fight? It's hard to pick.
Well, you know what you get with Fabio Wardley. Obviously, got that white collar sort of background where you just come forward and tries to knock your opponent out. And Huni's got that incredible amateur career. Hasn't really been given the sort of fights where people are questioning whether he can win. He's got that on Saturday night, hasn't he? And he's got that, away sort of fighter going into the Dragons' Den. Literally, that stadium is going to be all Fabio Wardley that night.
The Tractor Boys Den, I suppose. The Shed.
Is that the nicknames?
The Shed. We'll call it the Shed. He's going into the Lion's Shed.
But what I like is Jarrell Miller is nowhere near this. And that is honestly good news for boxing. But
any local car dealerships.
No, listen, I think the build-up's been good. It's another sort of matchroom against Queensbury card. And like Ben said, it's a tougher fight. And you got to take your hat off to Fabio Wardley, because we were talking about replacements for him. Why do you do that? Replacements for him. People were saying Dillon White, say management, who can he fight? And when the name Justis Huni came out, I think we all probably said, they'll put him to one side and say, no, not yet. We want to get at least the interim belt or something like that down the line, and then we'll fight him or something. But to fight him now, with the pressure of fighting in your hometown as well, for the first time in that stadium in Ipswich, fair play to him. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on him on Saturday night, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles that, because I feel like Justis Huni's young, he's fresh. He has no pressure on his shoulders. He's at that sort of late replacement fighter that is going to walk in that ring and is just going to not have a go, but also wants to win. And that's where I think we could see a different Fabio Wardley. But, Fabio Wardley's a tough fighter. He's a hard fighter. And I think he'll fight a hard fight. And I'll say my prediction. But I think Justis Huni may be the smarter fighter in there.
Yeah, but they are
and will
both
do the cleaner work.
They are both really raw in that sense of they're not style-wise, they're not the cleanest, they're not the most polished, and that's why it's an interesting fight. I think when it was first announced, the previous opponent wasn't happening. I think maybe Hergovich was the name that I thought maybe would get
One
given
of my
that
top
one.
10 heavyweights, yeah.
Yeah, you're number 4, I think it was in the end, wasn't it?
Number one. Number one.
But yeah, it's such an interesting fight, and fair play for them for making it happen, because style-wise it's such a fan-friendly, fun fight, I think.
Do you think Fabio Wardley doesn't get the credit he deserves for his boxing skill?
I think
his last fight, he took on, last two fights, took on a Olympic bronze medalist.
Yeah.
And outdone him.
Yeah.
Literally.
I think
destroyed him.
think the and I'm not saying this is a kind of thing on you, but that the constant white collar, the white collar thing
is old now, ain't it?
He's old. Outdated. He's 11 pro fights in, and he's had a lot of good wins, a lot of good moments. He's learned a lot. He's working under Ben Davison. He's a good boxer. And let's be real, white collar, you can be a good fighter fighting in white collar. You don't have to be bad. That's not a thing. Just because he hasn't had that, amateur career. There's plenty of people who haven't had an amateur career that have turned pro, but because they hadn't had a few white collar fights, that doesn't get mentioned. It's a different thing.
I think it's a uniqueness, though, ain't it? Of Fabio
It's
Wardley.
a selling point, yeah.
How is he beating people that have been in the amateurs so long? How is he beating someone who's went to the Olympics and won a medal? And like, it doesn't. Some people probably can't comprehend it, and it's fair enough. And I'm a big fan of Fabio Wardley. I think that first fight against Fraser Clark was probably the best fight that was on these Isles last year.
Was he last year or the year
I
before?
think it was
last?
in 2024, wasn't it?
Year before, I think.
Was it not in 2024?
Was it not back in the 20? I don't remember.
I think it was in
2023.
February 2020. It
Or
was.
was it early 2020?
It was Sunday. It was an Easter Sunday, I think it was.
It
'Cause I
was,
remember
yeah.
watching the football,
It was,
and I was
yeah.
speaking about how much
Must
I
have
love
been
a Sunday card.
Must have been, but it was a great.
It was a great fight, and we learnt a lot about Fabio Wardley that night, where that white collar sort of theme of he's a white collar fighter and all that just, in a way, just went to the side and went, right, let's stop calling him that. Let's start referring him to like a really good prospect coming through, and he could challenge the top boys in this heavyweight division. And well, for us, was he number 8 in our heavyweight? So
Yeah.
he's up there with some of the best. And for someone now on Saturday night, you know what you get with Fabio Wardley. He's a sort of come forward fighter, friendly fighter for the fans in attendance and all that. But it's just going to be interesting to see how he reacts to someone like Huni, because I don't think he's been in the ring with someone like that where.
But Huni's not been in there with someone like Wardley.
Exactly. That's the thing where I'm struggling with.
Chicken and egg. You can say both ways.
Because Huni hasn't proven himself yet, whereas
nor
Fabio Wardley's been there and got the t-shirt.
a
now.
better win. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting
It's a
fight.
great fight.
And I think we're kind of teetering on talking about it without giving a prediction. Anything else to say on the fight? Do you think?
No, it's just that it'll be an interesting clash of styles, I think. Certainly different to what I think the Miller fight would have been better for Wardley in a way in terms of his skill set.
Slower
'cause
pace.
Miller would have
Yeah.
stood in front of him and taken shots, whereas Huni
Won't.
isn't going to want to do that. So
Would Miller actually have made it to the fight though? You never know that.
Yeah,
we could have had a late replacement today.
Yeah,
On
true.
Monday that we're recording this. So.
True. And I know you don't like him, so
Yeah.
we'll head on over to.
Do you know the one thing I don't like about this weekend? Because
There's
we're
too
going
many
up.
fights.
Not that. There's 2 big, massive stadium fights.
Yeah. That's the problem with football.
Why can't
stadiums,
someone have a
isn't it?
phone call and go,
Yeah.
"Well, can you do that on Friday night or can you do that Sunday night?"
Yeah,
Why
it's
do
the
they have to
problem
be
is
on
that
the
it's
same
with
night?
the seasons ending and
Yeah.
the dates that work. Football stadiums, you don't really get the luxury of choice. It's kind of this is your date, take it or leave it, and they've both had to do what they had to do. And I don't think it'll detract too much from it, mostly because we spent most of it watching the Queensberry card. But Callum Simpson, Ivan Zucco is a great
I
fight.
think this could be the sleeper of the weekend.
It's been
honestly,
really
if I'm being-
well marketed and really well put out there. They've done a lot of work on this one boxer. Callum Simpson winning this would put himself in a really top spot to start knocking on the door to the likes of the people he wants to be knocking on the door to. You said to me the sleeper. Is that because you think he's going to cause Simpson some issues?
I think it's going to be a decent fight to watch. I think, well, what we watched last year up in Barnsley with that Zach Chelly performance was, with the crowd behind him, there's only one way Callum Simpson can fight on Saturday night, and that's going at it for the full 12 rounds or however long it lasts. But I think he gets through it. Obviously, predictions at the end. But the name underneath him, Mark Jeffers, is on that card. One fighter that every time he comes around where they announce a fight date for him, you're like, oh, who's he fighting? Could he be fighting for a title? And then it's like he's fighting someone he's easily going to blitz through in 3 rounds. For me, there was a lot of talk last year up in Barnsley about Simpson and Jeffers. That's a great fight, British fight. Are they both from Yorkshire?
No, so Jeffers is Manchester way or Lancaster, but they're both managed by the same.
Up north.
They're
That's
both managed by
problem
the
again.
same guy, so that is where the issue comes in. And obviously, they're both promoted by Boxer as well.
But we know what you get with a European fighter, though. Going back to the main event, you know he's going to be tough, durable, and it's going to take time for Simpson to work him out, I think. And it's the sort of fight where you expect it to go 12 rounds, but I expect Callum Simpson to have that better boxing ability and the smartness to stay long and create the angles where he can get in there and get out without getting punched and all that. But yeah, I think it's a decent fight. It's, for me, I've changed the term of fight of the weekend to the sleeper of the weekend just to see if it doesn't jinx it. But
Yeah, and I suppose if you get it wrong, you can say like Devin Haney's fights.
But it was a sleeper anyway.
They're
wasn't
a
it?
sleeper
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
they put you to sleep.
That's my
it's
thought
a-
process.
I like
It
what you
wasn't,
think.
but-
Could be Boxer's last show on Sky Sports as well.
Possibly.
What a way to go out there.
Well, yeah, fitting. It's a stadium fight, which is always great. And we were there last time at Oakdale, and the atmosphere, or Oakwell, sorry, not Oakdale, Oakwell. It was a great atmosphere with that one stand.
This 1 year. I think
Yeah.
everyone's year where we were sat. This one, our right
It
year
was
was just battered.
such a good event, and I just think Callum Simpson has so much of the support of Barnsley behind him. He does a lot of great work in the community. He's a lovely guy and a brilliant fighter, and I think more than anything, I hope the best for him. I wish the best for him. I hope he does win this fight and gets to push on.
He's a really popular figure as well. I think he could argue he's probably Boxer's most popular
Fighter right
they've got
now.
signed.
Ben Whittaker, he's probably
He's
a
not
bigger
popular,
name,
though,
but
is he?
less popular. Yeah, I was going to say he's more
Like
from
everyone,
from a popular and
He's
fan
more commercially
base and
viable.
everyone
money.
wants
Simpson,
to see Simpson win.
yeah.
And I like the way they get behind him as well. Like you said, they've marketed this very well.
He's one of
And
our own.
obviously, he's
or something
been
like that.
what he went through. Obviously, after winning that British title, it was heartbreaking as well. So I think it adds certainly to wanting to see him do well.
and they're doing the
tomorrow.
whole England versus Italy kind of 90s football theme in the football stadium, which is fun.
Yeah.
They've got, what's his name, Steve Bracknell is his name.
Yeah.
Did you see that video? That was quite
What
funny.
happened with England? The theme that they're going with England and Italy.
Just of that era,
What,
there was
what was
lots
the
of...
Euros final? It
was Euro 96.
Me and you were Italian that night, weren't we? When England played them in Wembley.
I weren't actually around, funny enough.
Good one.
No,
Yeah,
up
funny.
in Wembley now. I'm talking about.
You're talking 2020,
Yeah.
Euros 2021.
When I was Italian for the night.
Italy always do get
Yeah.
better England.
But yeah, it's a classic rivalry. And we'll once again we'll have to leave our predictions to the end.
There's
but-
a lot of fights this weekend where you're thinking, oh, okay,
Yeah.
surely there's an upset somewhere.
So there will be an upset.
There will be an
somewhere,
upset.
you
I think we
imagine.
can. I can guarantee that potentially one of the main events this weekend could be an upset.
Guarantee.
Yeah, because I'm not confident about that Wardley Huni
I
fight.
don't think you can call either of that an upset. Though.
Really?
Yeah,
they're
but-
they're too closely matched.
But it's it's the away fighter and all that.
Doesn't make it an
No,
upset
okay.
though, does it?
Okay.
I don't think. I think that either fighter can win that fight. That's a 50-50 on paper.
Could
Neither.
say the same, like when we had Lee Wood and Kakachi the other week.
That was not a 50-50. That wasn't.
It was
I
going
don't-
in.
Go
I
back
don't
to-
think so.
What was your predictions for that one?
I had Kakashi winning by stoppage.
Did you? Oh, I think we're gonna have to get a VAR check
It
on that
could
one.
be Kakashi points. It might have been.
I think you said it'd be a close points win.
All right, keep
we'll have to
talking.
get. We'll have to get the. We'll have to
I
get
get
VAR
boxing.
up on that
I hate
one.
this. I always get fact checked on this channel.
But just to suggest that isn't anything other than a 50-50
I think it's
on
quite
paper.
50-50 to call.
How long ago was it? Fisher Allen.
It was a while back.
Oh,
But
it
anyway, yeah, I think this could be an upset with Callum Simpson, but I don't.
No, I don't
Expect
with
it to be.
with the home fans and all that. Nah.
I don't expect it to be. We'll have to wait and see.
Kakashi decision. I went.
Yeah, I think you said it'd be a tight decision. I seem to remember. It because you went decision. You went
I
stoppage,
went stoppage.
and I went stoppage. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to. They'll have to let us know in the comments. I'm sure someone will
Yeah.
know.
You put Hergovich in your top 10 next year.
Angela Sang. Don't forget that.
To jump elsewhere, to a man who maybe wants to move up to heavyweight at some point soon. There's been a lot of talk of it. Opetaia. Nice to see him back in. Not a great opponent for him again.
A
Obviously
replacement
off
fighter, for him again.
I don't know.
There's only one good fight you can make a cruiserweight from now on.
Zerda Ramirez.
Zerda Ramirez.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's fighting on that Jake Paul undercard, ain't he?
He is, yeah. But yeah,
The
Jai
real top
Opetaia is.
cruiserweight.
Jai Opetaia he is one of those fighters in his division where you just go, yeah, you are the best. Like,
He's the man of the cruiserweight division, ain't he?
he's the dogs, yeah.
Yeah, he's got everything that every fighter dreams of having. The power, the way he talks as well, the way he comes across. You're interviewing him and you're trying to be having a friendly conversation. When you see the interviews, he feels like he just wants to punch everyone.
But
with that
interestingly,
attitude.
if you've seen him outside of camp, like outside of Fight Night and Fight Camp, he's a really balanced.
But when he's in the
level-headed-
fight zone,
when
though.
you see the switch.
Yeah. But when he's in that zone of I want to punch that guy's head in,
Yeah.
and you're interviewing him and you can just see him and you're thinking, Jesus, Watch out.
He's a nasty man in the ring. I
You
really
need
like
to
it.
be-
but-
You need that edge too, though, to be
it
successful.
says a lot,
I think.
man. When he had that fight down in Brisbane that one time where he broke his jaw in it, and he's just fighting the entire fight with his mouth open.
Maris Bradis,
just-
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Fair
he's
play
one
to
of
him.
the best cruiserweights, probably in that time as well.
And gave him a rematch later on as well, and obviously that was a really tough fight as well. They both ended up in hospital beds next to each other after that one in Riyadh. Just another one. Happy to see him out there.
Yeah.
Hopefully setting up a fight with Zurdo Ramirez soon. But that will probably again be looking at Saudi Arabia. Probably it's kind of been the home of the two of them. But nice to see some more fights down in Australia.
And it's not midweek as well, which is
No, it's
interesting,
on a
isn't it?
Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday. So it'll be what, Sunday
So the
morning
busiest, like 2 days in boxing, they've decided, you know what, we're not going to have it on the traditional Wednesday, Thursday night. Put it on
just
Saturday.
keep us busy, keep us on our toes.
Sunday night, Sunday morning.
It'll be Sunday morning for us, I imagine. And then another thing that I think will be Sunday morning, it might be Monday morning for us. I can't remember the time differences. It will be Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Junto Nakatani back out again for the IBF and the WBC.
Try not to mention Inoue.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it. He is, in his own right, genuinely.
He is brilliant.
Is he the second?
phenomenal-
He's the second biggest name in Japanese boxing, ain't he?
They've got some stars over there.
Yeah, probably.
30
Yeah, he's a brilliant fighter, and he hopefully will get a fight down the road against somebody who we won't mention because we spent a fair while talking about him over the last month. The monster, but
I like his nickname as well.
What would that be?
Big Bang.
Is it?
Yeah.
Another one. There's another Big Bang fight this weekend as well in Pearce O'Leary.
Yeah.
It's Big Bang as well.
It's the Big Bang weekend.
It is. Yeah. Junto Nakatani, we're expecting another victory, I imagine.
Yeah.
But it is a good fight at bantamweight against, I forget the guy's name.
Just look at, can I just say, look at that
Ryusuke Nishida,
bantamweight top
is it?
10.
a
Japan
lot of
just
Japanese
rule it,
fighters,
don't
yeah,
they?
yeah.
Japan are the kings there, and it's 1 against 2.
Yeah.
Incredible. And you look at Nakatani, I think he's got like 23 stoppage wins. Which
Out of
simply
30
incredible.
wins. He will...
Especially at the lower
win this
weights as
match.
well. When you get a stoppage, it's impressive. And
Yeah. You expect him to win it, don't you?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I think so. But they put on some brilliant fights in Japan at the moment. And
Yeah.
I love watching boxing in Japan.
Absolutely same.
It feels the atmosphere is quiet. There's no like chanting and all that.
Yeah, it's a different
And,
sort of atmosphere on it. But it feels like
not only
when
because
you don't get a good atmosphere with Saudi boxing, with Japanese boxing, it just comes across differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels different, but they've got a lot of talented fighters and they match them up quite well. They don't. It's not. Great fighter against prospect, prospect against journeymans. They don't really do that. The fights are kind of well balanced and well matched.
I like the way they bring up amateurs as well. They have like the tester pro fights where they still wear headgear and all that.
Yeah.
And that's great to see as well. But no, Japan boxing at the moment's flying.
Yeah,
Obviously,
big
apart
time.
from last weekend, obviously they had a Nunez went and won, but Inoue is the king over there. Nakatani's probably the prince.
Yeah,
you got to say. And
Hirooka.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quality operators out of Japan, and 2 of them are sharing the ring this weekend. It is a fight that I'm going to be watching.
it would be on Sky Sports as well, won't it?
But it's not necessarily one you can talk a huge amount about because, I think we probably expect Nakatani to win that one. We can say that because we won't be doing the predictions for that.
He should win it. Yeah.
You expect him to win it because he's that kind of fighter. And then if that wasn't enough boxing, Keyshawn Davis, Edwin De Los Santos. Keyshawn Davis, obviously a brilliant, exciting, fun fighter. Edwin De Los Santos lost heavily to a very boring, uninteresting Shakur Stevenson.
Your favourite fighter?
Yeah. My favourite runner. I think Keyshawn Davis will, again, you expect him to win this one, but it is a good fight. It's not a complete mismatch. Edwin De Los Santos has done it up at the top level on a number of occations.
Yeah, he's looked good in his last few fights.
That last fight against Barone shit.
Yeah, that was meant to be a sort of acid test really of where he was at, and he looked really good in that. I think he's probably one of a number of American fighters. Like you got Abdullah Mason's on the undercard as well, and you had Kamal. What's his name? The fought last week.
Kamal Morton. That no one could watch as well.
Morton. Fought.
Weird.
They've got like
PCB.
a little group of American fighters that are sort of that next in line.
That's
to
what.
be the main event.
But Keyshawn Davis is
He's more or less a main eventer in his own right.
he's a world champ.
Yeah.
It's fine for the WBA.
America's crying out, I think, for the next big name, big star, aren't they?
Yes.
I think they've got a lot of
you've
big
got
stars, American
Tank.
ones.
Shakur Stevenson, I don't think gets the credit he deserves.
Great fighter, not a superstar though, because people don't like him.
He's not a fan. like
Tank.
you say, he just runs all the time.
Tank is the
Tank's
one.
got his problems with Lamont Roach.
Yeah, but he is a superstar. People love Tank. He's a big name. You mentioned Tank in a negative way online, and you've got
I'll keep my mouth shut then.
a couple million people on your case saying he's got his fans.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, like you say, it's
Because we talked about the heavyweight division, and there's no one there at the moment. You know, Richard Torres Jr., Jared Anderson, and all that. But when you go through the lower weight categories, there's no one punching their ticket of like, yes, I'm the next man. And Keyshawn Davis in his last fight, it was sort of that statement win that you really wanted to see, and in a way wasn't expected to see as well. You were expecting Bringchick to take in the distance in a tough fight, and you know that build-up had a lot of drama that we don't really want to see in boxing. What we saw, and it was nice the way that Keyshawn Davis handled it and got in the ring and just absolutely destroyed him. And you know, Gustavo Lemos as well was another sort of fight against an Argentinian that, you know, well, Sam's got a theory on all the South
stop
America.
Argentinians.
And he did.
He did stop
in
him.
incredible fashion. And yeah, that it's just great. And like I said, America's crying out for a superstar. And I'm not saying the superstar is going to be Keyshawn Davis, but he's showing all sort of the things that you want of a big name. He's got it in abundance, I think. And he could potentially be that next face of American boxing. And this weekend, I expect him to get through with flying colours, another impressive stoppage win, and then move on to, you know, punching, knocking on the door of some other big names in that division, like that Brinchick fight, what was meant to be sort of that coming out and, oh, look at him now, this is Keyshawn Davis, this is the next big name, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But like you said, this weekend, there's so many fights, there's so many big names fighting. The undercards are stacked as well. In a way, some undercards are a little bit disappointing, but there's so many good fights this weekend. And Keyshawn Davis, that fight again, sleeper.
Fair enough.
I think the only thing American boxing is missing is a good heavyweight. They've always had a good heavyweight bar the last few years.
Do you know
Since
what I was thinking?
off.
It was interesting when they did that launch press conference for Shakur Stevenson, William Zepeda. Eddie Hearn said, if Shakur Stevenson was a British fighter, he would be a national treasure.
If he was a British fighter, he wouldn't be as boring as he is, though.
Yeah.
It's that's his problem. It's not his ability. His ability is undoubtable. Shakur Stevenson is one of the best boxers in the world, but he's not interesting to watch. And it's an entertainment sport. It's a competition from the fighter's point of view, but from the fans' point of view, it's an entertainment piece, and he's not entertaining.
I think Davis as well, if he gets through on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is for us, he's looking at that Stevenson-Zepeda fight, ain't he? Even not the winner, but potentially the loser, because then that could predict. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it would be a good fight for him. We'll touch on some of the undercards before we do our predictions on the Boxing News app for the Fabio Wardley Justis Huni card. First fight I think we're going to talk on is probably Pearce O'Leary, Liam Dillon, which I think will be a really interesting fight. Liam Dillon's a tricky fighter, good fighter, fought a decent level. Pearce O'Leary is a problem. I think he will definitely win that one. Really powerful, really exciting. Every time I've watched him, he's been really exciting. And then you see him leave the dressing room, and he's one of the most unassuming looking people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to... We went to that,
come across,
that launch press conference for the Magnificent Seven. Yeah. And you walked in the room and he just sat there, and you're thinking, there's no way that man punches someone's face in for a living. And fair play to him. Great fighter. Someone from, I think, I want to get this right now, is he Northern Irish?
I think he's Irish.
He could be Irish, okay.
Good
job.
Irish.
But he's up against a great fighter in Liam Dillon. I remember, what was it, last year in like January or February, him and Rhys Bellotti had that incredible fight at the Indigo at the O2. And yeah, the co-main event there, that's going to be incredible. Another fighter on that card as well, because it's not really stacked, is it, apart from the two the co-main and main event. Lewis Richardson is making his professional debut. Someone that we talked a lot about Olympians from the Paris Games turning over pro, and
once retired.
Yeah, again, sad to see, but you can understand why he's done it. Fair. And he's like, you take your hat off to him for probably he's looked at his career, Delicious Ori, and probably thought, yeah, I'm not gonna probably make the money that I could make outside, so I'm gonna go a different route. But Lewis Richardson, a fighter at the Olympics, I remember Sam put out a tweet about him. Surely Richardson has got this. the worst time in the tweet you could ever post because he didn't get that decision against that Mexican
I did
in
forget
Paris.
it was amateur boxing, didn't I? Because it's just the decisions are dreadful.
5 judges as well, and all that.
But Lewis Richardson, he was the shining light.
the only one to win a medal, wasn't he?
He was the only one there. Yeah. Because
The
everyone,
others,
yeah,
is he the only one to win a fight?
I think so.
I think he was the only one that won a fight. I think the others all lost their first fights.
Yeah,
A couple didn't deserve to, a couple did.
Yeah, some got robbed.
And when you look at that team now, Delicious Ori retired. Pat Brown obviously is kicking on. And,
Well, you don't know. You need to check on Pat Brown's back after
Wow,
lifting
yeah.
Dave
But Pat
Allen
Brown
right away.
has started his pro career impressively. But Lewis Richardson, he kept Taylor Bevan out of the Team GB setup, didn't he?
Yeah.
For the Olympics, it was why he's now turned pro, and he's started really, really hot. There's a lot of excitement around Lewis Richardson. There's no reason why he can't be. People with Olympic pedigree, you sort of say, British titles, your
you've got a certain
floor. You've
level,
got to
haven't
win the British title, really. That kind of level. And is he super middleweight up at the pros? Or, yeah, middleweight even. So he's down at middleweight. It's a great division. It's a great division to be at. I think Denzel Bentley's the current British champion, but he's going to be vacating that to get his world title fight. So, yeah, exciting stuff.
It's good to see as well Dillon White.
Against TBA.
Yeah, tough opponent. It could
Really
be Ben
tough
Thomas.
opponent.
Ben could be fighting this weekend. He hasn't had the phone call yet. But Dillon White's that sort of heavyweight fighter now where you're thinking, what's he got left to prove? Why is he still fighting? And
He's got a fight with a colleague coming up.
do you reckon? Well,
But also, he's just fun to watch. Like, you say that, what has he got left to fight for? But we will watch it, won't we?
Yeah.
So, I suppose it vindicates the
sometimes
decision.
you could call us hypocrites because
I think a lot
we
of
can't
the
be
time
asked.
call us hypocrites.
We can't be asked to watch the fights at all, but that's a great fight. That Pearce Larry, Liam Dillon. Another fight that I think is going to be an interesting watch. Rhys Edwards against
Thomas Asomba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
Great.
going to be 8 or 10 rounds?
Apparently it's been sorted now. So
Is it 8?
I hope it's 10 because I think over 10 rounds it could be incredible. But it's the sort of test you want to see Rhys Edwards in.
It is, but it's also the sort of fight he has to be winning.
Yeah.
He
I think
has
he
to be
wins that
winning that fight.
comfortably.
I think
Well,
the fight,
hopefully you could be up there as well watching it. So
the fight
we'll have to
on
wait and see.
the fight on
I'll be
late
watching from home.
the fight he took on late notice in Saudi Arabia.
Who was
it
that
was
against
so,
again? That was
What's his name? The Scouser.
Peter McGrail.
That's the one. Peter McGrail.
Scouser. Yeah.
I knew you'd get it. Yeah, it was such a close fight. He put in such a good effort on late notice. You can't help but think if he took that fight
On a full camp, I
on a
think he
full
could've won
camp, he easily could have won that fight.
There may have been a little bit of bias judging from my side
was-
of things,
that
but
was
I
close
thought it was
fight.
really close that night.
I said I was at the Newcastle Bath rugby game up in
hello.
Newcastle, and I was watching it on my phone. I wasn't watching the rugby, and I someone said, "Oh,
This guy's the biggest rugby fan, by the way.
how did Rhys get on?" And I went, he's done enough, but he won't get the decision. And I think that is how I felt in that one. He'd done enough
yeah.
to get a decision, but he wasn't gonna get it.
Yeah.
I had McGrail winning by a round or two, I think, from what I can remember, but it was close.
It was a close fight. It was a really good performance. One that hasn't hurt his pedigree. And I think Thomas Asomba's the same. He should be getting through that fight if he wants to.
Because Asomba's coming off that fight with Charlie Edwards, ain't he? I think.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
he might have
nice
fought in the
last
top
fight.
tier card.
He
wasn't
fought
it?
a top tier card since.
Yeah, it could have been on a top tier card, but
But,
you work for them, so I hope you would know.
You should know that.
I was busy.
You would have put out, well, yeah, doing the top tier show. Yeah. But an
Do you know
interesting
the
fight.
annoying thing is? I've looked
that?
on boxing news and
Yeah.
they haven't put the predictions up for this weekend.
Have they not any of them?
No,
We're just gonna have to go off.
apart from the Callum Simpson card. So
But
we just have
They
to.
haven't got the fights right on it, so.
No, well,
we'll just
Leon
have to go
Woodstock
off.
is still fighting Rhys Edwards. So,
So let's just do our predictions.
We'll just run through them.
Just do Lewis Richardson.
He wins.
comfortably
Points.
points. Okay,
It's a 6-rounder for his pro debut.
it's a long time.
I think it'd be a pro points decision win though, probably.
An impressive 60-54 or gets a knockdown as well.
Fair enough. 60-53 that would be.
Yep.
Pearce O'Leary, I suppose Nelson Heater versus Patrick Corte. We didn't mention that one. Patrick
Corte.
Corte.
What a
Sin-
big fan of us. He follows us on Instagram.
He still does, yeah. Big Patrick. He's a big boy. Nelson Heater should be winning this one. Will he stop Corte? Yes.
Yeah, I'd go the same, I think.
Pearce O'Leary, Liam Dillon for the WBC
Sleeper of the weekend.
International and the EBU European. What are you predicting that one, Ben?
Pearce O'Leary, stoppage.
Pearce O'Leary stoppage.
Yeah.
Why'd you?
No, because I
agree.
was shocked. Because normally we go decision. The main event though could split
That
us.
is interesting. Yeah, no, I agree.
The main event could split us now.
Fabio Wardley, Justis Huni.
I'm struggling with this one.
Can I go first? I think
want.
Fabio Wardley will win via a very close points decision. It will be its toughest fight to date. I think both men will touch the canvas.
Just generally, or we'll get
I think
that.
all right, I'll
Get it.
change the wording of that because
I don't. Twat.
both of them will have a knockdown in it, and I think Fabio Wardley comes out on top in a close sort of 116, 112, 115, 113 fight.
Fair enough. What about you, bub?
I'm gonna go Fabio Wardley by stoppage.
Ooh, I like that.
I just
Bold.
think there's only one kind of way he knows how to win, and
And he'll win it. Do you think?
I think he'll just. I think it's going to be a fight of. I think Huni might start well and take a lot of the early rounds, but I think Fabio Wardley is
See,
good enough.
I've got this fight starting the other way around.
I think Fabio
Fabio
Wardley's
Wardley
smart
comes out
enough
slow.
to set up a big punch that will switch it. in
I
his
think
favour.
Fabio Wardley's going to be there. He's going to use his experience as a pro, and he's going to take the first 4 rounds to work him out, and then get working. And that's where I think.
I think that I agree with you.
It's a hard one. To
Fabio Wardley's way to win this fight is by setting up the right shot, and I think that with Ben Davison they'll be working that one out, where to find and how to find that big shot style-wise. And Huni is, like I said, unpolished and he does leave gaps. So I'm going to go that Fabio Wardley will lose to Justis Huni on a points decision. I don't think he'll find the shot. I don't think he'll find the shot he needs on this night.
I wasn't expecting that one. The way he was building.
Yeah, I had you.
You
I
had
you
us
on
then. You had us a little bit.
The tip of my
Jesus.
fingers messing with you.
Callum Simpson.
Wins by
Stoppage.
stoppage.
Within
Yeah,
four
I can see
rounds.
that. Within 4 rounds.
7 rounds.
I think he
gets a late
slides
stoppage.
through.
Within 12 rounds.
Yeah, within 12. Look at that. We're brilliant. We've had a boxing news out. We're brilliant, aren't we?
We've covered every option there.
Yeah, we've done
Either
really
wins
well.
early, middle, or late.
Elsewhere, Abdullah Mason gets a stoppage.
Yeah, my prospect of the year.
Teremoana gets a stoppage.
Who's he fighting this weekend?
He's fighting an Indian heavyweight called
Yeah, he's got the stoppage.
Japai Singh, who interestingly 4 out of his 6 fights have been against a guy named Singh. Just fun fact.
And what's the other guy who fought? What was his nickname?
Fuck you, I think it was.
Yeah.
Fuck you, bloody that one. It was Teremoana.
We could get a lot of stoppages this
Teremoana
weekend.
should be winning that one. I don't know. Did I get that right number out in there? You normally tell me off for not saying
It's
junior. Oh, I'm going 4.
No, you don't put Junior in it. No.
I do. Teremoana Junior. That's what I call him.
You put 4 Teremoana,
Yeah.
mate. He's
Well,
on
if
he's on the wind up today.
If Diamante can do 3, I can do 4. you
This
know?
kid has had too much caffeine this morning. So Jesus.
Opetaia
Too much
stoppage
pink
as
with
well.
vitamin water. Yes, Opetaia stoppage, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be a weekend of stoppages.
Nakatani stoppage. or
Stoppage.
points? 1 against 2, mind.
Points.
Points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stoppage.
Keyshawn Davis.
Stoppage.
This is great.
Dillion White against TBA.
Do you know we complained at the start?
TBA.
We complained at the start of the show about how many fights are on this weekend. It's going to be easy to catch up if we're predicting
yeah.
stoppages.
Yeah, stoppage.
Happy days.
Happy stuff. I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Well,
Anything else to
I
talk
think
about?
we covered about every talking point. Delicious Ori retiring from last week.
Yeah.
AJ got a free fight deal with Riyadh Season, potentially
Yeah,
him
potentially.
against Dillion White. No one wants to see
That's a
that.
2-fight deal now.
Jaime Munguia got in
Is
trouble
it?
for testosterone.
It's one way to win a rematch, though. Guarantee yourself winning a
Guarantee it.
rematch.
Yeah. But yeah, that pretty much covers it. Everything that's happened at the moment. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow us on Spotify for on the audio episode. If you prefer the video version and you're on Spotify, then we are on YouTube with video as well, where you can see our lovely faces. We're on Twitter. Follow us on there. Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. Lots of great content coming up soon. So stick around for all that good stuff. 2 podcasts every week. We'll obviously catch you next week to review everything we've just spoken about and preview the fights coming up next weekend. As always, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.
Punches chance. Punches chance podcast.